Hello and welcome to the Talent Tide Podcast, the show that ensures you have the information you need to adapt and evolve your workplace culture as you ride the wave of change in talent management. I'm your host, Chris Nichols, and today we're going to talk video recruitment trends with my friend Brian Forrester, the CEO and co-founder at Lumina. Mr. Forrester is a subject matter expert on philanthropy, healthcare, and higher education. In addition to serving as Chief Executive Officer for multiple venture-backed startups, Mr. Forrester has provided leadership to Oregon's innovation ecosystem as the president of their Young Entrepreneur Society, a program acquired by the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network. As a result of his work, Brian has been profiled in the Oregonian, GeekWire, Portland Tribune, YahooNews, Portland Mercury, DigitalTrends, Oregon Business Magazine. He's been interviewed by TechCrunch and featured several times on the cover of the Portland Business Journal. He's a senior fellow with the American Leadership Forum, has guest lectured at over a dozen universities, including Stanford, UC Berkeley, the University of Washington, and University of Sydney. Mr. Forrester graduated cum laude from Portland State University and was celebrated as one of Portland's 40 under 40 in 2020. That's quite the achievement, Brian. Thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here, and it's always fun to get a chance to talk with you. I've never heard anybody read my bio out loud before, so it's always a bit awkward.
I told you beforehand, is there anything you want me to take out of here? Because it gets weird whenever you start listening to your own bio be read about you. Congrats on all of your achievements. To be honest, I didn't know so many of those about you, and I've got to find a way to get myself on the cover of a business journal multiple times. I mean, what a guy here.
Yeah, Portland's a small town. There's not a lot going on. It's easy to make the news.
Well, I'm really excited to talk to you today as a marketing guy myself, in being in the talent acquisition recruiting space. You have a very innovative business within our field, and you have quite the niche built, I believe, and you've gotten some backing as well from some great organizations, and you've got some really large clients as well in just a short amount of time. And I think that's a testament to your work and your connections and all those covers on the Portland Business Journal. But I need to know, because you've done a little bit of everything. Like looking at your LinkedIn profile, you've been in all kinds of different industries. So how did you find your way to creating a company like Lumina with video job descriptions? How did that happen?
That's a great question. It's kind of a two-part answer. The first part is I actually don't remember when or how I came up with the idea, because I have so many ideas that I learned to just write them down in a notebook. And occasionally I'll kind of flip through them and say, oh, I remember that idea, or no, I don't remember that one, but that's pretty good. Or I'll see something I wrote and be like, wow, that's a terrible idea. I'm going to cross it out and pretend it never happened. Lumina was not one of those ideas. It really rooted in understanding the degree of really competition, but also at the deeper level need for talent, particularly in the healthcare workspace, is where I started. So my first company out of college was a mobile app that helped students find study partners. Very simple concept, exactly the kind of company a college student would start. And we got really good traction with it. It was my first experience raising outside capital, building a software product, getting users, getting buyers. And I learned a lot from it. I learned both kind of what to do and what not to do. And one of the coolest experiences was we decided to make the mobile app free for students. And we would get students, we'd get 200 or 300 students at a university starting to use it organically. And then we would call up the school and say, hey, did you know that you've got 500 students using our app? Do you want to meet with us and talk about licensing it? And it turned out to be a very interesting, sometimes very effective model. And when I left that company in 2017 to join a company called NurseGrid, they were doing the exact same thing except in the healthcare space. This was a group of nurses who had started a company because they were frustrated with how inefficient their scheduling tools were. And so they built a better solution and they made it free for nurses. And I think today 1 in 3 nurses has the NurseGrid app on their phone.
Wow.
And so I got to join that team. And I got to really, dive deeper into that strategy. And I would say when I walked into NurseGrid, I felt very out of place. I said, I don't know the healthcare industry at all. I've seen Grey's Anatomy, but that's about it. And a month later, I loved it. I'm never leaving healthcare. Healthcare has been an amazing industry for me. Certainly enjoy, working and collaborating in others, but I would say my experience creating Lumina really came from understanding the impact of a talent shortage in the healthcare space, and particularly having been on site and seeing just the firsthand impact of what does it mean when a hospital is understaffed or any sort of organization is understaffed.
Well, and that's a common occurrence these days with healthcare companies, right? I mean, we're sitting here today. We're recording this on February 10th, 2021, and we are 11 months pretty much since our shutdowns in 2020 from COVID-19 and the pandemic that ensued from that. And healthcare companies are reeling 11 months later because they didn't have the talent before, Brian, and they sure as heck are having a hard time having it today. And I think that it's actually made the industry even harder to just acquire the talent that you need from your competition, because people maybe aren't leaving as much because of all the hoops that have to be jumped through to go from healthcare company to healthcare company. The vaccine is rolling out, which maybe will help some of those transitions occur a bit faster. But why the business model at Lumina? Why video job descriptions? Not necessarily speaking specifically about healthcare, but just in general, why job descriptions in video form?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's so I'm a millennial. I think maybe we both are, and very comfortable with Instagram. I'm on TikTok an hour a day.
Kudos to you. That's too many. That's too many hours in a day on TikTok, Brian. But
and I've always been very comfortable with the internet, on social media, and looking, if you're on Instagram, or even if you're on LinkedIn for a little while, and then you shift over and you look at a job board or a career page or a job description, even on Indeed, it is night and day difference. It's like you've jumped in a time machine and gone back 20 years, right? And all you did was change pages on your internet browser. And so for me, I looked at these companies in healthcare and in other industries who so desperately need talent. Like, they really, really need to fill these roles. They are turning down new business. They're turning away patients. They're turning away new customers because they just don't have enough people to be able to fulfill their business goals. And that's really dire. And then I look at the same company, and then I look at their job postings, and it's black and white. It's text. It's bullet points. If you're lucky, you might get an image. If you're really lucky, you might get an image. And those two things just didn't match. I said, look, the level of need and desperation here doesn't really match the assets that are being leveraged to try to get people's attention, right? You need to not only educate and inform candidates that, hey, you've got a job opening, but in today's world, what you really need to do is you need to inform and inspire simultaneously. And video is the most effective way to do that.
I like inspire because the recruitment process for most organizations is pretty bad. In fact, speaking of TikTok, I think earlier this week I had seen somebody had shared it to LinkedIn, because I don't have a TikTok, so that's the only way I would have seen it. But there was a young lady who had shared a video. It's one of those, I don't know, probably a term for it, but she's pretending to be on two different sides of the same of an experience.
Duet, yeah.
Yes, okay, a duet. There we go. And I think you might be older than me, and yet you're making me feel very old.
I'm cooler than you. That's all that matters.
So she, on one side, is pretending to be the applicant tracking system, and on the other side, the candidate. And so the beginning starts with please submit your resume. And so she submits the resume, and then it's like, okay, now I'm going to need you to put all of your work history and educational experience in here, line by line, year by year. And she's like, but wait a second, I just gave you my resume. It already has all that information. She's like, it doesn't matter. We still need the information. And so I laughed. So that was my TikTok humor for the day. But it's it's so true, Brian. It's 2021, and um, that's not an uncommon experience on even some of the largest companies in the world. That's their applicant tracking system. Why?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, the answer to the why is exactly why we built Lumina the way we have. One of the challenges in explaining to people what we do has always been, they hear the term video and they assume that I'm probably a film school grad and that we probably got, makeup people and sound people, and that what we do is we hop on planes and then we go to your office and we film you talking about your jobs, or about how awesome it is to work there. And I don't want to knock people who do that. That's got to be a fun thing to do. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of skill in that area. The disadvantage, though, is that those videos, that type of video, we've got customers who have paid in the past $30, $40, $50,000 for that kind of high production video. And if you're an organization that even has 10 or 20 or let alone 50 or 100 roles, how can you make a customized video for each of those roles? It's just not possible. It's not within anybody's budget that I've ever met. And so, we looked at video and we said, wow, video is so effective at engaging people, at intriguing them, at attracting them. But why isn't it being used in recruitment, right? That's just a big question that we kind of buckled down and had to answer. And what we came back with was pretty straightforward. It really fell into two categories. One, making video often takes a long time, right? So even a 1-minute video, if you're hiring a traditional film crew and you're kind of doing it what I would call the old school way, or the Super Bowl commercial way, it's going to take you 2 to 3 to 4 weeks to get something back that you can use. And when you're a recruiter or when you're in the talent acquisition field, you're trying to fill those positions yesterday. So that doesn't really work. And then the other component, it always comes down to money, right? Like I said, people don't have budgets. TA groups and recruiters, they don't have budgets to be able to film all these things and to have them customized assets that they can leverage to get folks to apply to their jobs. And so we thought, I've got software experience. My co-founder has a lot of software experience. He's actually an engineer, in fact, so a lot more than I do. And we said, look, we can build technology that solves both of these problems. We can make it both fast and affordable to create video, to attract candidates, right? To really drive applies and get candidates engaged in the message you're trying to tell them. So I would say the reason why is those two things. Video has historically been slow and expensive, and Lumina is making it fast and affordable.
I love that. So for those of us that maybe haven't seen a Lumina video before, what is a video job description?
So a video job description, and we've kind of adopted the nomenclature of video job posting now. Just we got some feedback, so they both mean the same thing. But if you hear one versus the other, it's the same thing. At Lumina, video job posting really is just the video version of your job description, right? So you've got just like you might have a version in Spanish and a version in English. Like we see video as one of my things, and this might be, engraved on my tombstone because I say it so often, but video is the language of the internet. And if you're not speaking it, you are probably not being heard. And I really believe that to be true. 82% of all clicks on the internet are on video content. That is what people find compelling. That's what works. And so at the end of the day, a video job posting is just taking the content that you have already in your description and creating a video version of it. So we're looking at if it's a engineering role, then we're going to show imagery or video clips of engineers. We're going to talk about the geography that the job is located in. We're going to highlight, you've got on average 500 words in a job posting. That's way too many. Nobody reads those. And what they do is they zone in and they look for the bullet points around, well, what do I need to have to get this job? What kinds of things am I going to be expected to do if I get this job? And those types of things. And so what we do in the space of about 30 seconds is we highlight all of that information in a way that's not overwhelming at all. And that's one of the benefits of videos, is that we can show so much about the role, so much about the culture of the organization, and even the geography in 30 seconds or less. So I don't know if that's a direct enough answer, but it's hard to talk about video rather than just show it. So
Well, maybe we can add some video into this on YouTube at the end. But you know, it is it's remarkable what you just said about 80% of clicks on the internet being video, right? And that's probably going to be kind of a tagline for this particular video, because I've never heard that statistic, and I'm sure it's valid, so I'm not going to question you on that. But you know, it's when you think about, if you saw a video, because let me back up. I could probably log on to LinkedIn right now and scroll through the first 20 posts and see 1 to 2 posts where somebody shared a job from a link for the URL, right? And the numbers on that, I have to imagine, are ridiculously low. But video, I'll at least stop, right? If there's a video playing, I'll give it a second or 5 to find out what is the video, right? It's showing up here. I should at least give it a chance. Maybe it's something I'm interested in, which I think is, and at the most, if I saw a job title, I might read what the job title was and continue to scroll, right? So there's the opportunity to hook somebody with video. Would you agree?
absolutely. And I'm sure there's, I was an undergraduate psychology major, and I'm sure there's a book out there that talks about video and the human brain, right? Just seeing emotion, hearing sound, that's got to be more engaging on like a neurological level, right? So we're tapping into not just personal preferences, but probably a much deeper reality on how the brain works. And I think, all of these platforms, you mentioned LinkedIn, all of these platforms. So the internet in today's world is probably easiest to think of it as just a aggregation or accumulation of different platforms, right? So we're spending 99% of our time on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or whatever platforms we live on. You could argue there's the dark web, but I don't know how to get there, and I don't want to know what I would find if I did. And so when you think about the internet being comprised of just platforms, and then you look at the last 10 years at how those platforms have evolved. I mean, from everything, search engines, they have all evolved in the direction of video. If you Google something and there are videos related to that search, they will come up first. They rank highest. LinkedIn is the same. So all of these platforms that comprise the internet all give preference to video because that's what people want to see.
Absolutely. And it is the world that we live in. And to be honest, thinking about that psychology piece, if I see a company has a video job description, my natural inclination is to think, oh wow, they really have their stuff together. I don't know anything about them, right? But to me, that video immediately makes me feel as if they are modern, that they are technologically savvy, So it's already given me the vibe that I believe this company to be a modern enterprise. When, I mean, in reality, that could just be lipstick on a pig. But it made me feel that way initially. And I talked in a lot of SHRM presentations or in front of HR leaders and talent leaders and marketers. And we talk a lot about candidate experience and how candidate experience, I actually have a slide and it says love at first click, because that first click that I make is how I end up wherever it is that I'm going, is because I was intrigued enough to go there, right? And if I'm going there out of need, that's one thing. But if I'm going there out of my own personal desire or want to, I'm going to be much more engaged in wherever I go next. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what video creates as part of the candidate experience. Do you have any thoughts around that, Brian?
Well, my first thought is I never said lipstick on a pig until I started spending time in Nashville, and now I say it all the time, and people make fun of me. So,
Because you're like pigs. We don't have pigs in Portland.
yeah, if we did, we'd probably turn them into pets.
Exactly. You're not eating them,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
no, pigs are people too. Um, so yeah, I have lots of thoughts on that. The biggest thing, you talked about love at first click. I really like that, and I think we've done surveys, global surveys, trying to understand how Lumina videos impact the way candidates perceive you as an employer or as a potential employer. Branding is one of these things. Me 5 years ago, I said, branding, that's not a real thing. That sounds like some hippie nonsense. And boy, have I learned a lot in that time. I mean, I've really come to grasp and to respect the people whose profession it is to build a brand and then to protect that brand and then to keep that brand relevant. And so we've done studies that show Lumina videos dramatically impact and change the way candidates perceive and feel about your brand. So things like friendliness, modernness, even inclusiveness and diversity, all sorts of things. Attractiveness at a fundamental level. Are you attracted to this company? Those types of things are impacted by what content they were exposed to. And one of the most important things for me that it really boils down to is we did a global survey, over 10,000 responses from candidates, and we asked them to choose visually. Would you rather read a job posting or would you rather watch a video job posting? And they got to choose, like they would click on one or the other. And 70% of people, regardless of age or country or industry or anything, 70% of candidates said, I would rather watch a video job posting. And so when a company goes to the trouble of investing in video as a strategy, what they're doing is not just, sure, there's a selfish aspect of it. I want to get more leads. I want to get more hires. But I think on a fundamental level, as a job seeker, what's being communicated to me, even if I don't know it, is that this brand has empathy for my experience as a job seeker. They care about the fact that I'm sitting here going through dozens and dozens of jobs trying to find the one that's right for me. And that means a lot. That really sticks out to the job seeker. And I think that says a lot about who you are as an organization, that you've gone to the trouble of making their experience a little bit better. Because whether you're without a job and looking for one, or whether you've got recruiters coming after you day and night because you're so talented and skilled and you've got a great resume, whatever it might be, the challenge of finding the right fit isn't easy as a job seeker. And I think when companies go out of their way to make it a little bit easier, it just goes a long way in winning points and showing empathy.
It's a differentiator, right? In a market, especially if you think about healthcare or manufacturing, two high volume industries with, a substantial amount of turnover, there's not a lot of differentiators between why I should be here versus someplace else other than personal opinion.
Yeah.
And video is a great way to sway that. I'm actually shocked that only 70% said they preferred to read, or they prefer the video over the text-based job description. So I figured it would be 90. You caught me off guard there with that one, Brian.
Well, the other thing that I think about too is, and I see it more and more, right? Going back to the lipstick on a pig thing, there are companies out there that I would never want to work at, right? Who I don't align with their values or their methods. But on the other hand, there are plenty of companies that I've never heard of that I would love to go work at, that I'd be a great fit, if I landed a job there, I'd be there for 30 years. The challenge is that a lot of those companies that have great cultures, or just a really good kind of work environment and the right values that match with mine, I'm never going to know that just by reading their job posting, right? And so really what I see our role is, in a lot of ways, is taking awesome opportunities that are kind of hidden underneath boring text and bullet points and bringing those to life, really giving them the opportunity to say, no, wait, we are awesome. Come check us out. This is just a taste of who we are. And it's amazing, even with a 30-second video like the ones we make at Lumina, we can capture and relay so much of that information because we're dealing with a multi-sensory dynamic experience.
So you segued me well to my next topic, but I got to go back for a moment because
Sure.
um, you mentioned you mentioned video job descriptions. What would you say to those of the folks that are listening and saying, why would I pay for a video job description when a text job description is free? What would be the change? How would you change my mind around that concept, around my thought there around that?
Well, sure.
Especially if I have a limited budget.
Yeah. Limited budget is always a big deal. And that's, one of our really core focuses is making video affordable and accessible to talent acquisition teams, whether you've got, a small budget in one job or a massive budget in a 100,000 jobs. So the direct answer is really thinking about, well, first, I don't want to hate too much. You've seen those, I don't think they do them anymore, but the Mac versus PC commercial, right? Where it's like a young, cool guy and then like the nerdy older guy. And really like those are textbook great commercials. But I don't want to knock the traditional job posting too hard because there is value in words, there's value in bullet points. I use bullet points every day. But the disadvantage is that that doesn't reflect everything. It doesn't capture what we really want to share as recruiters or talent acquisition professionals. And so the three reasons, so we ask our, a lot of companies, they'll go and they'll say, here's why you should buy our product. And we don't do that, right? We don't do that at all. What we do is we explain to people what our other customers articulate to us as why they bought our product. And why they keep working with us. So, if you get into a demo with me, I'll go through that and I'll say, here are the three reasons customers tell us they started working with us, why they started working with us. And then here are the three reasons why they keep working with us. And there really are, the first category is brand enhancement, right? So as you said earlier, you want to differentiate, you want to be different than whether it's the hospital across town or Amazon versus eBay or Apple versus, Tesla or whoever is competing for talent. You want to be different, right? And then you also want to seem more modern. You want to seem more relevant and so on and so forth. So branding is a really big motivator. Video job postings is a way to enhance your employer brand. The other two components are pretty connected. The first one is I want a higher volume of applicants, right? I'm looking at my ATS, I'm checking it in the morning when I come to work, 0 new applicants, or even worse, 5 new applicants and none of them are qualified and I've got to go through them, and so what video job postings can do is really be effective at reaching and attracting more people. So if you want more applicants for your job, then video job postings is a really good investment for you. The last thing is really around career pages because almost every organization has a job page or a career page or a career portal, whatever you want to call it, a place where you list your jobs. And every day you might have, let's say you've got one position on a Monday, you might have 100 people who look at that job posting. They scratch their heads, they look at it, and then they go check their Facebook, or they go buy a sandwich somewhere, right? They get distracted, they fall off. Out of those 100 people who look, maybe 2 or 3 of them, if you're lucky, actually apply for the job. So this is one of the things I'm most passionate about, right? You already did all of the hard work to get people to the front door. So if you embed a Lumina video into that career page, and I mean giving the candidate the opportunity to read the job posting or engage with the video, you're going to see an impact on the view to apply rate. We call that conversion sometimes. I think that's one of the most valuable things you can do because those 100 people didn't just end up on your career page by accident. All of the other hard work you and your team and your predecessors have been doing led them to that spot. Now what you need to do is make sure that they don't go off and buy a sandwich, that they convert, that they actually apply. And that's a really big role that we play in the customers that we have now.
Yeah, I like that you said front door because our partners here at Endeavis are probably tired of me using the analogy that our website is like our home, and you don't just, uh, you don't move into a house and never update or edit anything that's happening in your house, right? Even a 30-year-old home goes through renovations, which is, a 30-year-old company might go through a couple rebrands and things of that nature through the years, right? And when you mentioned getting through that front door, and I often talk about how social media is the front porch, the front yard of your home. That's your curbside appeal, right?
Yep.
That's what people see. They don't know people aren't just going and hanging out on a hospital or manufacturing company's website. Like they're just not. And so the only way for them to understand and interact with who you are is through your public persona, right? And for companies, that's social media. So who they are online is a great way for companies to get a taste. And in order for them to get a taste, you have to be visible. And fortunately for video, all of our social media platforms today, their algorithms give you a nice uptick as well. So there's a number of things, in my opinion, that make video effective for organizations looking to find a differentiator. Is it the only tool that you need? Absolutely not. I think you would agree with that as well, Brian. And
Absolutely.
there's just so many elements to the recruitment process that um, and this is not the first time I'll say this on one of our podcasts, but I'm a big believer in the Disney model, the Disney service profit chain. And if you look at that service profit chain model, it starts at the top with your employees. And in my opinion, you take that a step higher and you talk with your talent acquisition strategy, because if you have the right strategy in place, then you're going to attract the right employees. And video is a great way to attract people that feel a connection to your brand and they want to come serve your organization. And if you create that warm experience for people and they feel positive about your company and your brand and your experience, they're going to treat patients, customers, clients, the whole gamut of people that could interact with your organization, with a delicate touch, right? And they're gonna serve them as if the founder or CEO was the one serving them. And so we've talked a lot about video job description, video job postings, right? Did I get the verbiage right?
Yes.
So we're near the end, and I need to know what's next. Is it just video job postings and that's it? But I mean,
Mhm.
where do I need video? What kind of videos are out there, et cetera?
Sure. So you want the trade secrets, huh? The big master plan.
I do. I need to know what you're presenting, to get that spot on the New York Stock Exchange next
Yeah.
week.
Oh, there we go. I would. It's a good question, and it's something that we've been talking a lot about lately. As we, you know, I started really as a one person team, trying to validate the idea, manually, and we've just come so far in the last 18 months. As we look towards the future, we're really benefiting from. We treat our customers like partners. We ask them tough questions. They're brutally honest with us. I know you certainly have been as a partner, and that's helpful. That's really how companies grow. And what industry leaders need is just transparency and honesty to move their organizations forward. So one of the trends that we've been seeing is, it's not just about content, right? We can create the best video in the world, right? We can spend that $100,000. We can get Morgan Freeman to do the voiceover, and and it's not going to matter one bit if the video never sees the light of day. And so as we've started working with more and more customers in more and more industries, one of the things we've realized is just how valuable it is to be able to play a role in not just creating the content, but actually delivering it to where it needs to go. So, creating a video job posting for an opening, an emergency room doctor is needed in Dallas, Texas. Okay, so we make that video, it looks awesome, it's well branded, it's crisp. Well, instead of handing it off to the customer and saying good luck, how can we actually stick around if they want us to and help deliver that video to the types of candidates who need to see it? And that's really what we're looking at as kind of the next, I'd say 2 to 3 year plan is continuing to perfect and refine what we're doing now around content creation and putting videos on career pages and boosting conversion. But the long-term focus, I think, really is going to continue to be around exploring the opportunity to create content, and then in a very deliberate, purposeful way to surface it to candidates who need it, right? To play that distribution role.
Brian, as a marketer, you know I love video. So I appreciate you being on today. Would love to hopefully have you back on in 2022 whenever we can hear maybe about what you're doing then. Because I think we're in a situation where these things are evolving rapidly. I know at Endevis we have made decisions here to say with technology providers, we're only looking at them on a year-to-year solution list, because we have to say to ourselves, look, technology can be outdated so quickly in today's environment. And so it's important for us as a service provider to make sure that we're evaluating technology constantly and understanding what is most valuable to us today. So that way we can be providing our client partners with the most valuable tools and resources at this time. And so that's one of the reasons we partnered with you, Brian. And so I'm proud to know that, you know, we have a partner here that is helping us attract and bring people to our client partners that, you know, do view them as a modern organization and appear to be a best place to work potentially, right? And so, again, great having you on. I appreciate our partnership, and you know, if someone has questions about Lumina or how they can reach out to you, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions myself. But how about the horse's mouth, Brian? Another animal analogy. How can our listeners find you and contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, saying you're a friend of Chris will go a long way with us. So don't hesitate to share that. But definitely you can find us at lumina.co. So lumina.co. And then, I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm very active there. So feel free to add me and check us out.
And TikTok.
And we're not on TikTok yet.
No, you are, you said.
I am. Yeah.
I think you got some good dancing videos on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm working on my moves.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Talent Tide podcast. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and rate wherever you listen or watch the podcast, from Apple to Spotify to YouTube. Go win the day. And remember, success is on the other side of fear. The Talent Tide podcast is sponsored by Endevis. Endevis is a full-service recruiting firm offering a broad range of solutions, from professional contracting to retained and contingency search to recruitment outsourcing. Endevis prides itself on its core values of being bold, accountable, help first, passionate, and results-driven to ensure the talent we bring to our partners matches their core values and overall mission. For more information, please visit endevis.com. That is ENDEVIS.com.